Have you ever met someone who acts like they know everything but actually knows nothing? They speak loudly, they act confidently, they even argue with passion, but deep inside, they don't have real knowledge, understanding, or wisdom. Strangely, the more ignorant they are, the more they think they are smart. Why does this happen? Why do so many people who lack knowledge believe they are right? Why do they argue confidently, speak without thinking, and look down on others, even when they are clearly wrong? This is not just a psychological issue. It is a spiritual disease, and Islam has spoken about it clearly, through the Qur'an, through the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and through the lessons of history. This topic is extremely important, because today we live in a world of noise. Everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to be right. Social media gives everyone a stage, even those who have nothing to say. People speak about religion, politics, science, and life, not with knowledge, but with ego and overconfidence. And this creates a dangerous society. A society where truth is buried under opinions, where real scholars are ignored and fools are followed, where arrogance looks like intelligence and silence is mistaken for weakness. But Islam teaches us the opposite. True intelligence begins with humility. The wisest people are not those who speak the most, but those who learn the most. Those who fear Allah, those who reflect, those who are aware of their own ignorance. So let's begin this journey. Let's expose the truth behind fake confidence and learn how to walk the path of true wisdom, the path of light, humility, and guidance. And don't forget to like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to Deen Xplorers for more Islamic motivation. 1. Why do stupid people think they're smart? This is one of the strangest things in life. The person who knows the least often talks the most. The one who understands little often feels the most confident. The one who is wrong feels they are always right. Why? Why do foolish people think they are wise? Why do they walk with pride, talk with pride, and correct everyone else, while they themselves are lost in confusion? The truth is simple. They don't know what they don't know. That is the real problem. They are blind to their own ignorance. This blindness is not just of the eyes. It is of the heart and mind. It is a blindness that blocks them from seeing their flaws, their mistakes, and their limits. They live in a fantasy world where they are always the hero, always the smartest, always the most right. This is not knowledge. This is pride. And pride is one of the biggest traps of Shaytan. Sometimes it hides behind big words, false confidence, and fake wisdom. One of the reasons why foolish people think they are smart is because they surround themselves with people who don't challenge them. They only want praise. They only want people to agree with them. Anyone who disagrees is called a hater. Anyone who gives advice is called a fool. They cut off the wise and gather the weak around them. This creates a bubble of lies. Inside this bubble, they feel like kings. But it's only an illusion. The truth is outside, and the truth is, they are lost. Another reason is ego. The ego doesn't want to be wrong. The ego doesn't want to learn. The ego wants to rule. When a person follows their ego more than their faith, they will always believe they are smarter than they are. The ego whispers, "You know better than them. You don't need advice. They are all wrong." And the person believes these lies until the heart becomes hard. When the heart becomes hard, the truth no longer enters. My dear brothers and sisters, we must be very careful not to fall into this trap. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they are wise. Just because someone uses big words doesn't mean they understand. Real wisdom comes from Allah. It is a light He gives to those who are humble, those who fear Him, and those who seek Him sincerely. It is better to be quiet and thoughtful than loud and foolish. It is better to ask questions than to pretend you know. It is better to admit a mistake than to argue for hours. Always remember, the smarter you think you are, the more you should fear pride. And the more you learn, the more you should realize how much you still don't know. 2. The arrogance of ignorance. Arrogance is one of the most dangerous diseases of the heart. It is not just about walking with your chest out or speaking loudly. Arrogance is a feeling deep inside that says, "I am better than you." It's a whisper from the ego that makes a person reject advice, ignore truth, and look down on others. And the most dangerous kind of arrogance is when it comes from someone who is actually ignorant, someone who knows very little, but still believes they know everything. This is the arrogance of ignorance. This type of person is blind to their own weaknesses. They think they have all the answers. They think no one can teach them anything. They treat people who are wise with disrespect, and they act as if they are scholars. But in reality, they are drowning in their own ignorance. And, sadly, they don't even realize it. My dear brothers and sisters, arrogance is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of weakness. A smart person listens. A humble person reflects. But the ignorant person, he thinks listening is a waste of time. He thinks asking questions makes him look weak. So he keeps talking, keeps arguing, and keeps walking on the wrong path. And the worst part is, he thinks he's on the right one. The arrogance of ignorance is also dangerous because it spreads. When a person refuses to admit their faults, others around them start doing the same. When a father never accepts advice, the children learn to act the same way. When a leader mocks those who are knowledgeable, the followers lose respect for truth. One person's pride can poison a whole family, a community, even a nation. We must remind ourselves that knowledge is a gift from Allah, and like every gift, it can be taken away. So if we walk with pride, if we boast about what we know, if we mock others, Allah can remove that gift from us. He can make us blind to truth, even when it's right in front of our eyes. That's why scholars of Islam were always so humble. Even after learning for 50 or 60 years, they would still say, "I don't know," when they were unsure. They feared speaking without knowledge. They feared misguiding others. They knew the weight of words. But today, many people speak about religion with no knowledge at all. They make fun of scholars. They spread false ideas, and they think they are being smart. That is not intelligence. That is the arrogance of ignorance. So what is the cure? It starts with humility. We must admit that we don't know everything. We must be ready to learn, to listen, and to ask. We must accept advice, especially when it comes from someone with knowledge and experience. So protect yourself, my dear brothers and sisters. Every time you feel proud of your knowledge, remind yourself that there is always someone who knows more. And above all, Allah is the one who knows everything. 3. They refuse to learn from others. One of the clearest signs of a foolish person is their refusal to learn from others. They act like they know everything. They behave like no one can teach them anything. Even when they are wrong, they refuse to accept advice. Even when truth is right in front of them, they turn their back. Why? Because their pride does not allow them to say the words, "I was wrong," or "I didn't know." Refusing to learn from others is not just ignorance. It is a form of pride. A wise person, no matter how much they know, always wants to learn more. They listen, reflect, and grow. But a foolish person wants to be right all the time. They want others to listen to them, but they never want to listen in return. Now think about someone today who refuses to take advice from their own parents, their teachers, or even scholars. They argue in every conversation. They cut people off. They say things like, "I already know that," even when it's clear they don't. This kind of person is not wise. They are just loud. And being loud doesn't mean being right. This refusal to learn also breaks relationships. When someone never listens, people stop talking to them. They lose friendships. They lose respect. Eventually, they are left alone with their ego, and their ego becomes their teacher, whispering lies, boosting their pride, and taking them further away from truth. Remember this: a person who refuses to learn from others will eventually learn from pain. Life will teach them the hard way. But the believer chooses the better path, the path of humility, learning, and light. 4. They are overconfident without proof. One of the most common signs of foolishness is when a person is too confident, not because they actually know, but because they think they know. They speak with power, act with boldness, and carry themselves like they're experts. But if you look closely, there is no real knowledge behind their words. No wisdom, no evidence, just empty confidence. This type of overconfidence is very dangerous. Why? Because it fools not only others, but also the person himself. He begins to believe his own false image. He begins to trust his gut feeling more than actual truth. He talks more than he listens. He argues more than he learns. And the scariest part? He does all this while thinking he is right. In Islam, confidence is not a bad thing. In fact, it's good to be strong and sure when you have knowledge and wisdom. But the problem starts when confidence is not built on truth, when it is just loudness, ego, and pride, pretending to be intelligence. That is when confidence becomes foolishness. Overconfident people often talk with big words, give long speeches, and make strong claims. They act like they know every solution, but ask them for evidence, and they fall silent. Ask them for proof, and they get angry. They are quick to give opinions, but slow to admit when they are wrong. They confuse being loud with being correct. True confidence in Islam comes from knowledge, sincerity, and humility. Look at our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He had the most wisdom, the most knowledge, and the strongest connection to Allah. Yet he was always humble. He never spoke without reason. He never acted arrogantly. He taught us by example that truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to shine. The smart person is the one who says, "I don't know," when he doesn't know. That simple sentence shows wisdom, because only a fool pretends to know everything, and only the arrogant refuse to admit their limits. The more you truly learn, the more you realize how much you still don't know. That's the beauty of real knowledge. It humbles you. And remember this, overconfidence without proof is not strength. It is a trap of Shaytan. The devil wants you to act without thinking, to speak without knowledge, to be quick with your tongue and slow with your mind. Because once you fall into this trap, you become his tool, spreading lies, creating confusion, and making others doubt the truth. So what should we do? We must train our hearts and minds to slow down, to reflect before we speak, to seek evidence before we act, and to always say, "Allah knows best," when we are unsure. This is the way of the wise. This is the way of the righteous. Let your confidence come from the Qur'an and Sunnah, not from ego. Let your strength come from humility, not from arrogance. And always remember, the loudest voice is not always the voice of truth. Sometimes the truth is found in the quiet heart that listens, learns, and grows. 5. They speak without thinking. One of the most dangerous habits a foolish person has is speaking without thinking. They say whatever comes to their mind without pause. They don't reflect on the impact of their words. They don't consider if what they are saying is true, helpful, kind, or even necessary. They just speak, quickly, carelessly, and often loudly. Islam teaches us that our words are powerful. What we say can bring peace or start fights. It can heal hearts or destroy relationships. It can lead someone closer to Allah or push them far away. That's why our religion places so much importance on guarding the tongue. But people who lack wisdom don't realize this. They speak as if words don't matter. They spread rumors, mock others, joke too much, backbite, lie, and argue, all without a second thought. They feel confident while doing it, but that confidence is not based on truth or knowledge. It is based on ignorance. Foolish people don't fear this. They treat words like nothing. They argue about religion without knowledge. They give opinions on serious matters without any study. They interrupt others just to prove a point. They talk so much that they forget to listen. They treat every conversation like a competition, not a chance to learn. But a wise person is different. A wise person pauses before speaking. They ask themselves, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this the right time to say it? They understand the power of silence. They know that sometimes the best response is no response. But foolish people don't care about these teachings. They rush to speak in every gathering. They talk over others. They raise their voices, thinking it makes them more powerful. But in reality, they only expose their lack of control. Their tongues become a tool for Shaytan, spreading anger, jealousy, division, and sin. And often, these people hurt others deeply without realizing it. A joke that insults, a word that humiliates, a careless comment that breaks someone's heart. Later, they may laugh and forget, but the person who was hurt remembers it forever. We must understand, speaking without thinking is not just rude, it's dangerous. It can ruin reputations, end marriages, break families, and cause hatred among friends. And once a word leaves your mouth, you can't take it back. It's like an arrow released from a bow. It can only go forward. So what's the solution? Train your tongue. Learn to pause. If you feel angry, stay silent. If you don't have knowledge, stay silent. If you're unsure, stay silent. This is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is strength. Make dua to Allah to help you guard your speech. Surround yourself with people who remind you to speak with purpose. Study the speech of the Prophet. Peace be upon him. How gentle he was, how clear, how thoughtful. He never used words to hurt or to show off. He spoke only to benefit others and to please Allah. Remember this, your tongue can either carry you to Jannah or drag you to Jahannam. So choose your words with care, because while people may forget your words, Allah never does. So, my dear brothers and sisters, in a world full of noise and ego, don't be one of those who talk too much and know too little. Don't be the one who thinks they're always right, even when they are wrong. That is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness covered by pride. True wisdom comes from knowing that we don't know everything. It comes from listening more and speaking less. It comes from turning to the Qur'an, from following the Sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and from staying humble no matter how much we learn. Remember, the smartest person in the sight of Allah is not the loudest, but the one who fears him most, who keeps their tongue pure and their heart sincere. May Allah protect us from the arrogance of ignorance. May He bless us with true knowledge, with humility, and with the courage to stay silent when needed, and speak only when it brings truth and benefit. If this video touched your heart, please like it, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Deen Xplorers for more motivational and Islamic reminders.